I've been reading this book about that, and it's called. I'm still reading it, not finished it. Well, it's listening actually, and it's called Unreasonable Hospitality, and he talks about how he's like, it's really good so far. Like, there's few books now these days that I pick up and I'm like, hey, this is a sick book. This is a sick book. I highly recommend Will Girard or something like that. Probably fucked up his name bad. Sorry, Will. But it's called Unreasonable Hospitality, and it talks about how you can go above and beyond in the littlest of ways with your clients. You know what I mean? And restaurants are great for a great example of that. Do you know, like that person knowing the food and giving you the guidance on how to eat it versus someone who came in and maybe knew a couple of the dishes. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I like that. You know, that would be a very different experience. Like really, really different. And he shares this one example in the book where he goes through and they manage a big restaurant in New York, Brooklyn or New York or somewhere there. And he talks about how they know that people in the restaurant where they would park, there was only 1 hour of parking or something like that. And he goes, so they'd notice that people were always getting up in the middle of their meal to go and top up the meter and come back. So what they started doing was they would train the waiters to go and say, hey, George, welcome, blah, blah, blah. They have the conversation. They said, how did you get here today? He said, I drove. He said, okay, cool. Where'd you park? He said, I parked on Smith Street. Oh, okay, cool. Let us know what your vehicle is and we'll go top up the meter for you so that you can sit down and enjoy your meal. And then that person would be blown away. Like,
by something so small.
And that's a sick gesture, dude.
Yeah. And wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd be like, what? You're going to pay
sick.
for my parking?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, even if he said, I'm going to give you the quarter and you go put it in. I was sat there really. But like, you know what I mean? It's like, and the whole concept they're teaching in the book is like, this cost us, you know, a quarter or two.
Yeah.
And a few minutes. But it was just the input of the process along the way. And he gives another really good example as well where they had, he says, we had a couple celebrating an anniversary. And the couple called over the waiter and they said, excuse me, can we ask you a question? He goes, yeah. He goes, we've put an expensive champagne bottle in our house in the freezer. Do you think is that going to be okay by the time we get home? They forgot it in the freezer. And then the waiter wasn't sure, so he went and sought advice from the manager and he came back and they go, nah, it's going to explode. So what they did was they took the key, they said, give us your keys and we'll go sort it out for you so you guys can sit and enjoy your meal. This is a really high-end restaurant.
Yep.
So like the people working there, etc., it's like, it's premium. So they gave him the keys. They went, sorted it out for him. They're like, wow, how amazing. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. This is the greatest thing. Went home, found flowers and chocolates.
So not only did they go.
Yeah, not only did they do that, but they left him a fucking an additional present on top of everything else just for entrusting them. And it's like, you just look at those things. Because like, again, I don't think this is a cheap restaurant. I think people going there are spending a lot of money, etc. But it's like those things aren't just service that money buys you. You know, he gives this really good explanation of like, he goes, what's the difference between service and hospitality? And then he goes, and he says, the best explanation I've ever heard for this was a woman who I never ended up hiring. And he goes, she said service was black and white and hospitality was colorful. You know what I mean? Service was like, I did the thing. Like, hey, no, what? I installed your fucking lights. But like hospitality was kind of like, we installed it, showed you how to do it, made you feel comfortable, brought you a present, came in a month later, made sure it was all good. You know what I mean? It's like going above and beyond in ways that no one really thinks of. Like, because you need to take time and sit down and have a clear head and just be like, what are the things that we could be doing here that really no one is doing? Like no one, you know? And I think that's a really good thing as a business owner to think about. I think you should take time out of your business. Like now, like in the construction side, dude, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you guys do for someone who settles a property?
As in when we finish the project? We'd often we'll get them something as like a housewarming gift, but I see where you're going with this. Like, where could you go above and beyond to do something special? The one thing I've done once, I'll tell you, I knew it was my client's birthday on a certain time, and he was a massive Collingwood fan or something like that. And I had some contacts there, blah, blah, blah. And I was able to get him, I think it was a signed jersey by a player or something like that. And I was able to give that to him on his birthday. Now, he was blown away, A, that I remembered his birthday, and B, that I got him something that he really cared about because I'd taken the time to notice and have the conversation and understand what he knows and likes and all that sort of stuff. So, that was a meaningful gift in that regard. But yeah, it's definitely something I think it's worth having a conversation, or what you said, having clear thought where you can sit down for 10 minutes and go, well, what could we do that's better that no one else does? Because I think it will go a very long way.
Yeah.
Well, it does. It does. I mean, we're talking about a moment that happened for me 13 years ago and I brought it up today. Hadn't even thought about it since. But that had an impact on me at the time with the service that this individual gave me. Now, it could have been an individual thing, but I think it was a company thing on how this person was acting. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it's just like the little thing, because most of the stuff, it doesn't have to be like a super expensive or, but it's like the little, it's almost like the smaller the gesture and the more well thought out, the more it means. You know what I mean? And
I remember once, now that we're saying this, it's like all these little things are coming back, It's like I remember once we went to Hamilton Island and there was a hurricane there whilst I was there. And my wife was probably 6 months pregnant at the time. And
it's handy.
Yeah, we were stuck in Hamilton Island in one of the main buildings. Like it was just shit. It was fine. It wasn't that bad, the hurricane. Everyone says it was ridiculous. I thought it was like, I've seen windier days in Melbourne. But anyway, won't go there. But I remember speaking on the phone to Virgin and saying like we had we couldn't get on a flight. That was the other thing. We couldn't get on a flight because everyone all of a sudden was trying to book to get on a flight because all the flights got cancelled. So there was an excess of people on the island trying to leave the island. Anyway, they're there and they're like, look, this is before I had my own business or anything like that. And we're like, oh, my wife's pregnant. We need to get on this flight. And they're like, look, we've only got business class tickets left. And they're like, they're, $1,000 each or whatever it was. And, at the time I was like, oh, look, I can't do that. I can't afford that. Is there anything you can do? Can we do something? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they look, leave it with me, sir. And then they come back and they're like, look, we're going to upgrade you to business because you guys are, going through this, blah, 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 and we're sorry and we want to help you out. And I thought that was like a great gesture. And I remember then thinking, I'm always going to fly Virgin as a result of the extra service that they'd just given me to get on this flight to go home. And, they're the sorts of things that can go a really long way as a business, whether you're big or small, just doing the little things. Because what's it cost Virgin? Fuck all to put us into business. Right, but
it makes no difference.
No, that's right. They still got to take a body from one place to the other.
Yeah, the plane's still flying.
Yeah, that's right. And you say the meal, but ultimately it really costs them nothing. But the goodwill that put towards me and the company, and let's just say social media was much bigger then. I could have done a post about it saying how good Virgin is, and got 50,000 views on it, and that reach would have been great for them back then. So I think in this day and age, people will also tend to brag about that. Not brag, show it off for your company too. So think about the bottle of wine now and the flowers and stuff. If they had gone home and seen that, then the wife pulls out her phone and go, I just went to this restaurant. Look at what they've done for us. They're amazing.
Which is more of a reason to do it.
That's the cheapest advertising you're ever going to pay for, and it just costs you some, Cadbury favourites. So there's huge uplift in it doing stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, but it's like, so why don't we do it? Because I could honestly say I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I think thinking of it, I said when we were talking about this at the start of the podcast, before we started, I was like, fuck, you're so right. I've got to do this. It's something that I have to put some time aside to really think of and go, well, how do we make the experience better than anyone else is going to give? Because all you hear is the opposite as well. When it comes to builders, because you only ever hear the disaster stories, you don't hear the good stuff. It's always the opposite of what's going on in the world. And they're like, oh, this builder's shit and they don't do this and they're late and they charge me this variation and that.
Imagine you say, hey, how was your experience with your builder? Yeah. And then the person responds saying, man, I'm upset it's over.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sad that it's done.
I'm sad that we're not
I don't get the calls anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm upset about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've lost the connection.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. It's
Wow.
like I'm upset that I'm going to fuck something up in the house. I'm going to
Put a hole in my
bring
wall.
them back, yeah. And just, I did this, sorry, but can
Sorry.
you fix it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
And, I used to always say to my clients, and I still do, I said the intent, especially developers, ones that are continuously building, I go, my intent is for me to be the last builder you ever engage. It's not just me building this project, it's me building the next one for you. And then when you have a friend or a cousin or a brother or whatever it is that wants to build, you're like, hey, just speak to George, man. Don't waste your time. Don't get quotes. Don't do anything. Just speak to George. Trust me. And they're like, okay, cool. That's fine. We won't get other quotes. We trust you. And then move on from there. But it comes with the territory of what do you need to do to make that happen?
yeah, you know what I found? I think that, like, the whole book seems to be about like going above and beyond. He shares a story at the start of the book where they got invited to the top 50. They ranked or whatever for the top 50 restaurants in the world. So the top 50 restaurants in the world got all invited to like a gala dinner, and they were going to announce who the top 50 was, starting from 50 down. And he goes, it was the first time him and his business partner were there. He goes, and we walked in, he goes, and we had never been there. We couldn't believe we're here amongst the greatest chefs in the world. We made it. You know what I mean? And then he talks about how they ranked 50th. So they were last out of, he's like, and he goes, yes, he goes, like, we're lucky to be in that room. He goes, but when you're last in that room, you're still last.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So they took it in a really hard way.
As an L.
He took it as a massive L. And then he talks about the journey of how they got there. And this is one thing I didn't know about restaurants. I don't know if they do this in Australia, but in New York, apparently, they do this thing called a family dinner. So it's like, okay, we are all on shift today. We open at 5. We have dinner at 4. So restaurant's closed. We all sit down and eat together as a family. I think I've seen Glenda's do it,
Oh, really?
where they all have lunch together. Are
Oh,
you there?
cool. No.
You
I've
know
never
how they
seen that.
close?
No, I've never seen that.
Do they close?
No idea.
They don't close. They just do it.
Yeah.
And they all have lunch together. And I thought that was a really cool concept, because it's kind of like, you talk about, like, the book's got so much stuff about culture in it. And you talk about, because it's like, okay, when your team's smaller, like, yes, you can drive a lot of those things. But for it to grow, it's got to come from something else.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be you.
That's right.
You. Yeah, so I think there is real power in, like, just saying, okay, like, what would have to happen for people to say that? What would the experience have to be like for someone for me to leave here and for someone to be like, man, I'm actually upset this is done. Do you know what I mean? Look, what would the experience have to be like? And just fucking lay out a bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
Like, what would it have to be like? And some of them are going to be good, and some of them are going to be bad, and some are going to be feasible, and some are going to be not. You know what I mean?
just
But
put 'em down,
start at the
regardless of what
biggest
it is.
extremes. They'd be
Yeah.
like, cool, man. Like, if I walked in here and I handed you $1,000 every day I was here, you'd be pretty happy. Probably not going to do that. But it would make you happy.
Yeah.
You would leave. You'd be like, fuck, this is over, spewing. So it's like, what are the things you can do? Okay, I can't give you $1,000, but maybe I can give you a chocolate. Maybe I can bring something nice. Maybe imagine you captured the whole journey and they didn't know in a build, and you're building someone's like forever home. And then you capture the whole thing, they don't know. And then at the end, like, you hand them a video and you're like, hey,
Check these
check
out.
this out. And they watch it. And they're like, fuck, like, you caught that whole thing coming together. Like, we've got this video forever. We're going to raise a family. It's going to be like the family home. And now we've got the whole thing coming together live.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everything from us sitting in your office to, you know what I mean? Like, the whole thing to when we finally agreed to you to, 12 months or 18 months later, or however long it's taken for it to go from design to completely finished. And now you hand us this finished product along with the actual finished product. And it's like, we had this conversation in your office boardroom, and now we're having this one at the new kitchen dining table of what we've made come to fruition.
Yeah.
It'd be sick.
No, cool. Yeah, and some people would love to see that.
If you like that clip and you want to watch another one, click just over here. And if you want to watch the full episode, click just over here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.